Hey y'all, TRG here and welcome back to another video. And in this video, I'll be going over an active pattern that will be setting up across specifically the northern tier of the US that could bring the chance for severe weather across the southern US, as well as a chance for multiple snowstorms across the northern and northeastern United States. Let's go right on into today's video. Starting out here with the current look at your true color satellite imagery provided by College of DuPage, you can see we have a lot of cloud cover across much of the southern tier of the US, as well as some spotty cloud cover over the northwestern US. Still some snow also left over in the middle of those two areas of cloud cover from our previous major winter storm and our other winter storm that dropped a widespread amount of 8 to 10 inches of snow across the northeastern US over the last week or so. If we turn on the radar here, you'll notice there's really two main areas of precipitation. One area here centered over mainly Arkansas into Tennessee and Kentucky, and then a larger area of precip focused across the far southern US. There's also a third area of some lighter snow showers and rain showers across the far northwestern US, but the main two areas are back down in here. And this blob right in here actually has some snow and mixed precipitation mixed in with it right now across southeastern Missouri, northeastern Arkansas, far northwest Tennessee, and southwestern Kentucky. Not expecting any measurable snow across those areas for the next about 4 or so hours, but once this gets into eastern Kentucky and northeast Tennessee later on tonight, we could see some accumulations upwards of 3 inches of snowfall in some spots in eastern Tennessee and to central Tennessee as well as eastern Kentucky. As for this blob of a lot of rainfall will just stay across portions of the southeastern US for the next 48 hours or so, just bringing some rain across portions of the Carolinas tomorrow. But it's going to be that northern area of precipitation that brings our near winter storm impacts to portions of Virginia and North Carolina going into tonight and tomorrow morning. So taking a look at that on the GFS real quick, this is generally what the radar is going to look like tonight. We'll continue with that heavy rain across the southern and southeastern US going into tonight. That other blob of energy and rainfall will turn into some mixed precipitation, including rain across northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, some mixed precip near the Nashville area, and then mainly snow as you get towards Clarksville, Tennessee, down towards south central Kentucky. Going into the overnight hours tonight, you'll see that this begins to strengthen quite quickly, mainly across eastern Kentucky, western Virginia, northwestern NC going into later tonight. We could see some accumulation in those areas, like I said, up to 2 to 3 inches of snow. We'll dive in depth in that in just a second. And then you can also see going into tomorrow morning, the heaviest snowfall will likely be located across portions of Virginia and northwestern North Carolina, probably mainly on the mountain areas is where we will see those highest accumulations. Upwards of about 5 inches of snow will be possible in areas like Roanoke, Virginia, all the way down towards northwestern North Carolina going into tomorrow early morning and very early afternoon hours. Now, before I do a deeper dive into that snowstorm, I do ask if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with your family, friends, social media, and consider hitting that subscribe button so you know when I go live or upload a video. There will not be any content this weekend as I will be dealing with the snowstorm and I also have a very busy schedule, so most likely no content till either Sunday or Monday. Let's go right back on into today's video. Now going into a deeper dive on this snowstorm using the 17Z HRRR, we'll also switch to the 12Z as well. Going into this late evening hours here, about 7 o'clock Eastern, we'll start to see that snow spread into Clarksville, Tennessee, southern Kentucky. Like I said, not much measurable snowfall there. But then as we get into the overnight hours, you could see some of this does end up getting a bit heavier right on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky. That's where we have our best chance of seeing some accumulating snowfall here. This is going into 10 o'clock tonight. That's 11 o'clock, so we're getting pretty late into the evening hours now. And then into the overnight hours here, you'll see that continue to spread across portions of Virginia. And there is a question on if we will see rain at first here across portions of southern Virginia and northwestern North Carolina, or if it will be snow right as it starts to fall going towards about midnight, 1 a.m. Eastern time late tonight into tomorrow morning. Right now, the HRRR kind of puts that line directly over my house on where there may be rain and then snow, but it looks like most of this is probably going to end up being rain if you are north of the North Carolina-Virginia border. Mostly is just going to be snowfall. And then if you are down towards Greensboro, you can see this is going to transition from rain into snow. So it shouldn't be much measurable snow south of my area here in Martinsville, Virginia. It should be mainly just quick hitting snow showers. Maybe you'll see some heavier snowflakes, larger snowflakes into the overnight overnight hours there. Now switching over to the 12Z HRRR here so we can go out into tomorrow afternoon here. You can see the end of this. So it starts as rain. Once again, it starts as some rain in northern NC, transitions to heavy snow, kind of transitions into a mix then going into early tomorrow morning. And then in the afternoon hours, that could be maybe where you start to see some accumulation there in Greensboro pointing off to the north there. But I don't think it will be anything too measurable. You can see the HRRR total snow depth only saying about a fifth of an inch here, a half of an inch. I don't know why I said a fifth of an inch. Only about a half inch of snowfall here north of Greensboro being measurable according to the HRRR, whereas just in my neck of the woods, you're looking at 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and then back up towards Roanoke, maybe 3 to 4 inches of snowfall there. And I think that will be where our heaviest snow is, right along the mountains in West Virginia, down through about Roanoke, Virginia, maybe down into as far south as going into northwestern North Carolina, the upper mountains in that region. So generally, we're not looking at a very impactful snowstorm, but if you haven't been paying close attention to the forecast, this is definitely going to catch you off guard because this system uptrended a lot in the last 48 hours, and we really knew that was going to happen, to be honest with you. You could tell it was going to happen because we have all the perfect ingredients. We have a perfect southwest to northeast storm just like this. Your 540 freezing line is pretty far south, and it's a good jet stream. So all it took was a little bit of a south trend with those temperatures. As you could see right here, our freezing line going down into southern Virginia. So all it took was a little 25-mile shift in that freezing point over the last 2 days on our model runs. So also taking a look here at the NAM model using the precipitation type, that's another model run that kind of has it being first some rain and mixed precipitation in the overnight hours, and then maybe some ice in Greensboro, and then going into tomorrow morning here about 9 a.m. and then moving into the afternoon. We'll have to see. The NAM isn't as confident on that staying as all snow. This is going into about 11 a.m. noon here, and you can see it does have some more ice mixing in towards Greensboro and north of Greensboro. So taking a look at that total depth accumulation, that has really done a toll in the total depth accumulation here across portions of southern Virginia and even southwestern Virginia. Not nearly as high of snowfall there, but typically these events do overperform, to be honest with you. These are some of our more overperforming snow events. The HRRR tends to do very well with this type of setup where we see a lot of moisture traversing the Appalachians and then we get a bunch of snow east of the Appalachians. So I feel like the NAM model is definitely on the lower side of things, and I wouldn't be listening too much in the sense of that saying the total depth accumulation is only like an inch out here in southwestern Virginia. I think we'll see a lot more snow in that area than what the NAM is saying. So really just paying attention to the HRRR model run because I don't think many other model runs handle this type of setup too well. Now let's talk about the long-term future here. So we have that snowstorm getting out of here going into tomorrow afternoon and evening. It will be off the coastline of the Carolinas tomorrow night, so it's a very quick hitting storm. That's why we're not seeing any snow totals, probably over 5 or 6 inches of snow. But you'll notice this 540 line, which is our freezing point in the upper atmosphere, it doesn't really move a whole lot. So we're looking at a very active snowy pattern setting up. If you are generally north of like this line right in here, just south of that 540 line is where we're looking at that very active pattern setting up here. So if we go on out here, you can see going into Sunday, we'll have another snowstorm, quick hitting snowstorm, could bring up to 8 inches of snowfall to portions of Iowa, eastern Nebraska. Someone up there is probably going to get 8 inches of snowfall out of this going into Sunday morning and afternoon. And then that traverses into the northeastern U.S. where it will weaken quite a bit. So I don't expect as heavy accumulation for snowfall in the Midwest with this snowstorm as what we saw with the last two snowstorms. But it could be a quick hitting snowstorm up there for areas like southeastern Maine. If we take a look though at the Canadian model run, you can see the Canadian model run not really as sure on that. So we'll have to see if we do indeed get a quick hitting snowstorm in the northeast or if it is more of that low end snowstorm like the Canadian model run has. So we'll just need to watch that. I really think the GFS is pretty aggressive on that. I wouldn't bet on the GFS being correct with that large of an area getting 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches of snowfall there. But you could see somebody out here in Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, someone's going going to get that jackpot of 6 to 8 inches of snowfall going into Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. Then we could go and pull this all the way out here even further. We'll get another snowstorm going into next week. This is Tuesday into Wednesday next week, going across this really much of the same areas in the northern Midwestern U.S. here, Wisconsin, Michigan, and then even going back down into Indiana and Ohio, getting that snowstorm as well. Now, there will be a chance for some severe weather with these systems, but I expect it to be very low end. If we do see any type of severe weather, it will definitely be focused across Texas and Louisiana. So I don't expect it to be any type of high-end severe threat, but just keep your eye out there across the southern portion of the U.S. over the next few weeks for the potential of just some quick-hitting severe storms. I don't expect any of them to be too major. And you can see the continuation of this GFS 12Z model run still has that big snowstorm traversing across the Midwestern and Northeastern U.S. And then another quick-hitting snowstorm behind that, not nearly as strong as our first 3 snowstorms over the next week or two, but it is another quick-hitting snowstorm after that. And then now we are over 200 hours out, so this is where it gets inaccurate, but you can see the GFS is going to continue with another snowstorm being possible there across the far northern U.S. and southern Canada there, and then going all the way out in the GFS, it even has a big snowstorm there starting to brew across the central U.S. and the northeastern U.S. going into like 4 days before Christmas, so very far out there. Wouldn't listen to that, but we are entering a very active phase for snowfall and winter storms, and still a little bit of an active phase for some isolated severe weather, but again, I really don't expect anything more than a couple marginal risks out of this pattern in terms of severe weather. And just taking a look at your snowfall accumulation here on the GFS, you can really see that cutoff line here, minus the mountains in central California there. It's generally right in here. Everybody north of that general line is where we're looking at that very active pattern for snowfall, really focused in on the northeastern U.S. and the midwestern U.S. That's going to be where our heaviest snow will be over the next 2 weeks. And then obviously the higher terrain out there in the Pacific Northwest will be getting a bunch of snowfall over the next few weeks there as we see a very active jet stream pattern set up. So really, really active for snowfall here over the rest of December. And this is taking a look at your mean snowfall accumulation using the GEFS ensembles just to kind of show you that general same picture here. Really north of that black line is where we have the best chances for snow. And then again, really focused on the northern Midwestern U.S. going into the northeastern U.S., the north central U.S. That's where our heaviest snow will be over the next 2 to 3 weeks, as well as the mountainous terrain once again out there in the Pacific Northwestern U.S. Over the next week, I don't see severe weather being an issue whatsoever. It's going to be towards the middle of December when we have to start watching for that isolated chance of a marginal risk or two. Again, not saying we're going to be getting any type of big severe threats or anything like that, just keeping an eye out for the chance of some severe weather going towards the middle and end of December because of this very active jet stream here. If we go to the 500 millibar wind speeds, look at this very, very active jet stream here. This is 250, my bad. This is your 500 millibar jet stream, and you can see there's just jet stream consistently over the U.S. So we'll have a chance for some isolated severe storms whenever some of these jet streams overlap with our little bit of instability that we have during the winter months. So here's our chance of minor winter storm impacts across portions of Virginia and North Carolina for this winter storm. And you can see really our highest chance for winter storm impacts will be across Virginia and even portions of the northern portions of the Piedmont Triad out here, really focusing around Greensboro down towards Durham. So we'll just continue to watch these areas closely. I am a bit surprised our chance for minor winter storm impacts aren't a bit higher out in the Danville and Martinsville area. We will still have a chance for some minor winter storm impacts across portions of those areas. You can also see some little blobs here across the higher populations like Memphis, near Nashville, near Knoxville for some isolated winter storm impacts going into tomorrow. Pushing this out pretty far here, this is going into Sunday morning, and you get another big, huge blob across Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. So another winter storm is going to be likely across portions of those areas going into Sunday this upcoming weekend. And you can see that probability gets pretty high out there in northwestern Iowa. That red is about an 80% chance of minor winter storm impacts. So pretty good chance for some winter storm impacts going into this weekend. And then I do want to see if they have anything across the northeastern U.S. Yeah, they're kind of banking on the Canadian model run there. Pretty much nothing across the northeastern US. And if it is something, they only have it across really Maine. And then you can see the next winter storm starting to push into portions of the northern tier of the US, into the midwestern US, going into next Tuesday and Wednesday. You can see that probability really lighting up across a huge chunk of the north central US. So that's 3 winter storms tomorrow, Saturday/Sunday, and then also next week going into Tuesday and Wednesday. 3 winter storms that we are looking at here over just the next week alone, and then we will probably have another 2 or 3 going into the latter half of next week into the week following. So plenty of winter storms to track, but thankfully at the moment none of these look like major winter storms. If we look at major impact probabilities, nothing lights up. There's no chances for major winter storms across the US, at least at the moment. I do see a little bit of probability at the very end of this going into Thursday morning next week. So maybe we'll have to watch very late next week to see if we get a bit of an overperforming chance. All right, y'all, I hope you did enjoy today's video. Hopefully I can cut this down to a bit of a shorter video on editing because it was pretty long here. I'm going into 25 minutes of recording, so hopefully I can chop that down to about 15 minutes or so. But I had a lot to talk about, a very active pattern setting up here. So for snow lovers, hopefully you end up getting the amount of snowfall you want. I know I'm going to enjoy the about 2 inches of snow I'll see going into tonight and tomorrow morning. And stay safe out there. If you are traveling during these winter storms, please just take extreme caution when traveling in the snow. Make sure you're driving below that speed limit, of course, and just take extra precautions there, because driving in snow, especially heavy snow, is very, very dangerous. If you don't have to travel during these winter storms, don't travel, because again, it is very dangerous. So I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. Stay safe, watch the snowfall, and I'll catch you in the next live stream or video that I do. Again, probably Sunday or Monday next week. Goodbye.